bit of hands-on with AWS Code Commit. Part of where we're going with the whole developer portion of this is that there's some very specific developer tools that you can use in your process that will make your life a little bit easier when it comes to actually managing your code, putting it up, managing it, building it, deploying it, pipeline and settings. And this is the whole bit underneath developer tools. And we're going to start with Code Commit. And Code Commit is basically your code repository. This is where you're going to dump all your stuff. And this is where you're going to go ahead and make sure that everything can work just like any other repository. It basically is built just like any other kind of code repository you've ever worked with. It looks like GitHub. It looks like stuff you do in Visual Studio. There's just a bunch of different things you can do along the way. I kind of made a little one to start off with. Whenever you get into any kind of information management, you always end up having to make a log parser. So basically, we're going to make a lot of log parsers as we go through this, because that seems to be my particular thing. So we're going to do log parser 2. So we're going to make a repository, log parser 2, and then this is my second log parser, and we're going to be pulling it. Tags are really kind of neat. You can actually do name and then do values. It's going to be log parser 2, and then go from there. You can also go ahead and add another name if you want to, and just go log parser, just because you kind of do things. If you want to enable Code Guru Reviewer for Java and Python, you can absolutely do that, and this will give you recommendations to improve your code. So that's kind of neat. And then if you have a service link role on IAM that doesn't happen, you will want those, and we'll just do name 2 then. So just in case, repository name is not valid, dashes. Okay. Let's see what that looks like. So every once in a while, you kind of got to deal with it. Repository name really wants something going in there. Think we're good to go? We'll just call it something else then. Make it really simple. There we go. So we sometimes you just got to go. All right, so I'm signed in as root account, so that's my no. Shouldn't be doing that, so no SSH. HTTPS, so you can use curl, HTTPS, or GRC. So basically, however you want to do it, then you can go ahead and go through and take a look at your code. We're going to go ahead and pull some SEO code over. There's a really nice SEO Python log parser over here in GitHub that we're going to use as a base. So I'm going to really think this guy here that did it, YN71, and we're just going to go ahead and pull all this stuff over. We're probably doing it the hard way too, because I probably could just go ahead and just download it if I wanted to. The main reason why I'm using this code is because I really want to be able to build a bunch of stuff out. So we're just going to go ahead and create a file. You can add a file, but create a file here, or create file. Doesn't matter really where you go, and you can just copy your code in and be good to go. And again, it doesn't matter how you get it. You can just go ahead and just either upload it, do the rest of it. So we're going to do a file name. It's going to be log parser 2, author name. So we're going to attribute our guy here out on. So it's going to be WYNE71. It's going to be WYNE71 from GitHub. And then we're going to go ahead and put in our email address, so we've got it. And then any kind of commit message that we want to have. None. No commit message at this point. So default, whatever. And then we can go ahead and we can commit those changes to that. And that should give us our secondary log parser. So now we should have 2 repositories in here. My 4th gen parser, right? And then my Dan parser. And we'll probably have to rename this at some other point. But that's really how you create the repository as you go through. Then there's some other neat things here. Once you start getting into this, how you do stuff, you can do some notifications and create a notification rule or manage rules. So if we're going to actually create a notification name, we're going to go Dan Paul. Right, so we're just going to go do a full detail type, anything that goes along with it, or basic. So full, generally all the events that happened around that and then basic just information provided. You can trigger on anything you want to for your notification. So I'm just going to do like on commits, status changed, source updated, and then branches and tags were updated. I'm not going to really worry about anything else on this one. So we're just going to go there, and then we're going to create a target. So simple notification service, code star, Dan, part P2, open commit. So again, just something that we know is going on here, and this is just what's going to happen in my simple notifications system topic, and it will send me this little note saying, hey, someone did a thing, and you'll choose target type. It gives you a full ARN for that target type, exactly where you're at, and you'll notice that I'm here in Ohio, right? And then we can go ahead and add a row. If we want to add more targets to this, we can actually do that and then go submit. So this will tell me now for my notification rule, if someone pulls it, it will send me notifications to this as my resource, and then this is my notification where it will go. On commits, source updated, status changed. We can actually add more targets if we want to, and then turn on other things as we want. If we want to turn off notifications, we can certainly do that and go through that process. So that's basically how that would work. If you wanted to do a pull request, you can go ahead and create a pull request for your code. If you want to do a destination, a branches main, source, main, so we could actually make our own branch here and then compare the two. There won't be any comparison because it's the same. So I haven't made any kind of pull request or done anything else with it. Commits, we've made no commits to this. We did our generic and initial install here, and that was my first commit. So we could copy the ID, or we can actually browse that whole process along the way and see what was actually committed as part of that process. So just kind of neat on that. We can actually visualize the commits if we're there, and then we can also compare commits if we had more than one, but since we just got started, it's just going to be the one that we have. You can actually branch your code and your main and your default branch, and then go through and check, delete it, view last commit, create your pull request, or create a whole new branch if you wanted to. If you want to really do tags, tags are really a good way of making sure of how your code is managed. Tags are probably the most important resource marker that you've got. So definitely use tags. When you get them and you're doing things with tags, make sure that you're actually using them, and so you can manage your code better and manage your versioning better, right? It just works. You can also go in here and do specific naming things. So we named it Dan. So if we wanted to do, we know that 4th gen worked, Dan P2, and then we can see if that will save it out, right? And if it did, then we just were able to change our name. So that works. So now I've got a better name than just Dan because I needed to just get this thing done. We can put in a better repository. We can do default branching, and then we can also delete our repository if we want. Then we can also change over and redo our notification if we want to do more notifications on this. Any kind of triggers, what would trigger that notification? So if we were going to create that, trigger name, on event, push, create, delete, service details, again, service to use, SNS, or Lambda. You could actually use this to parse your entire thing. So you could go serverless on this, do some custom data pull, and that's just kind of a neat thing. You can test your trigger as you kind of go through and check and see if that will work from that whole viewpoint. So there are neat things there. Repository tags, you'll see that we've already got some things going on with log parsers and names and other stuff, and then we can actually go through and review our code, and we can associate a repository with that, and it can take a while to actually do it. But that code review really will help you become a better coder, especially if you're just getting started or you're not comfortable or you're not as confident as you should be. It's just kind of neat to have that reviewer there. It's just a second set of eyes on it to make you take a look at it. Then what kind of approval rules? So if you do have approval rules, something that you do need to check out, you can actually set it up so that you've got a shorter approval rule depending on what you've got. This is just my approve minor tweaks rule. This is one, there's only one approval needed. You assign that to a specific name, or you can assign it to an ARN. So you can assign it to either just the name or the full on ARN that you've got. You can add people to this, and you can also do this by branch filters, and you can also associate repositories with that if you wanted to have it done for both of those. And then you can save your template along. So quick approval if you wanted to have a more complex approval, if you wanted it to go through more formal steps. So you would go from developer to QA to test, back and forth until it finally hit prod for its final approval. You can create that whole logic here in that whole approval rule template. You can really nest these things out and make them really, really nice on how they work. So, and that is it for code commit. It really is a neat thing to have. It's a nice thing. And we'll go into artifacts, build, deploy, and pipeline as we go back through the rest of these. But code commit is really neat. It's just a GitHub repository with a lot of neat things that you can do with it to make sure that it meets your business logic and your development style. It's got some really nice processes to help you be a better programmer. Especially with the code review. That's always a good thing to have, because especially if you're a blank sheet of paper coder, or you're a copy paste coder like I am from GitHub and pulling things in, it's always best to have someone else review this stuff. It's all good stuff to have. So definitely check out Code Commit. It's a neat thing to do. And for a free tier, up to 5 users. So you can definitely do this for free and get some real good hands-on on the development side. So that's it for Code Commit. I will see you in the next thing, which I think will be artifacts.